In August, we headed to one of our favorite places in Nevada, Goldfield, for their annual Goldfield Days celebration. We checked into our Air BnB at the Goldfield Stop Inn. Our room was a cabin moved here from the red light district and featured an antique bed and a sink from the haunted Goldfield Hotel. I didn't film it, but be sure to check out the boutique on the premises. It's a real gem. There are no open hotels currently in Goldfield, but a lot of really fun Airbnb options if you choose to come stay. The closest town is Tonopah, about 30 miles away. The separate bathroom was an old gas station office that was moved here from Fallon, Nevada. We headed downtown for the Goldfield Days festivities. Vendors lined the street and volunteers sold raffle tickets and refreshments to raise money for their small town. The townspeople came out in full force and sported their most authentic clothing that you would expect to find in the Old West. The parade was our first event and featured some fun entries, including Goldfield's most famous mascot, Honey the Burro. In the town center, the Las Vegas Corvette Club had a car show, and there was food and refreshments. One of the best reasons to visit during Goldfield Days is that many of the historic buildings that are usually closed to the public are open to tour. Like the John Cook Bank, an old bank turned saloon, where we picked up a copy of a book on Goldfield's history and got it signed by the author. I'll link the book below.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I was amazed that a town with fewer than 300 residents was able to put on such a large and organized event. It really says a lot about the people of Goldfield and their love of this town. We stopped in for the grand opening of a new saloon in town, the Occidental, and enjoyed a refreshment. Goldfield has its own radio station, and they were broadcasting during the event. One of our most anticipated events was the public land auction, where we hoped to become members of this great little town, but it wasn't meant to be, yet. Then a highlight of Goldfield Days for us was a tour of the historic Goldfield Hotel, led by a docent, Heather, who had a lot of interesting history and stories to share. George Wingfield was a successful and wealthy banker, a mining magnate, and joint owner of the booming Goldfield Consolidated Mines Company. Wingfield is the man behind the Goldfield Hotel, and he's also credited with bringing tourism to the state of Nevada.
And we are going to walk around the entire Goldfield Hotel. We're going to start on the top floor and work our way down. So we're going to get a cardio workout in first, And that's because I care about you so much. I want you guys to get your cardio.
There's rumor that some of the most recent construction crews quit working on the hotel after numerous paranormal events. The hotel is said to be haunted, and its most famous ghost is the spirit of a woman named Elizabeth, George Wingfield's said to be mistress, who allegedly became pregnant with Wingfield's child. The story is that in order to protect his marriage, he initially paid Elizabeth to stay away, but growing fearful of exposure, he ultimately chained her to a radiator in room 109, the Miss Elizabeth room. She cried for hours on end, begging to be released. Wingfield fed her food and gave her water to keep her alive until the child was born, but then she disappeared altogether. One theory is that Elizabeth died at childbirth, but many suspect Wingfield murdered her. Rumor has it that her baby was thrown into a mine shaft or a tunnel beneath the hotel. Many guests claim to see the ghost of Elizabeth and even claim to hear her crying, presumably calling out for her child. The Goldfield Hotel has been through multiple renovation attempts, but each has failed due to expense. The hotel has had many owners, including the U.S. Army during World War II and a California developer in the 1980s. In 2022, the hotel was put up for sale for $4.9 million by the heirs of the last owner, Red Roberts, who purchased the hotel at the 2003 Goldfield Days auction for $360,000 with plans to renovate it.
Knock on this window, and when the bartender had time, he would open it up and ask you what you'd like to have to drink. If your husband was on the other side and said she doesn't need a drink with dinner, you got no drink for dinner. I can tell you how long I would have lasted, and it would have been, well, I wouldn't have. I'd been on that side in a pair of pants and a boots with a bullwhip like Calamity Jane going, you'll give me a flippin' drink.
It was a real treat to tour this once magnificent hotel, as tours are only available during special events like Goldfield Days. Touring the historic fire station was a highlight as well. It was originally built in 1903 during Goldfield's boom years, when the population reached 20,000, becoming the largest city in Nevada. The boom was so rapid, the small fire station with volunteer firefighters quickly became insufficient, leading to a series of devastating fires that wiped out the majority of Goldfield. The first, in July of 1923, started in a private residence and spread quickly, destroying 25 city blocks. A second fire in September of 1924 polished off just about everything else that remained. The fire station houses restored fire engines from the early 1900s. We ended the day watching the sunset and the world pass us by from our own front porch. The next day, our friends Earl and Allison came to Goldfield, and we headed to the International Car Forest, an interesting art exhibit in Goldfield, where in honor of Goldfield Days, they were planting a car, and we got to watch.
Timer's ready? Go!
The evening ended with a good old-fashioned mucking contest, where teams competed in timed events that simulate old-world mining techniques in moving ore.
Hey!
Whether you come for Goldfield Days or any other time of year, you'll be treated to amazing historic buildings and some of the friendliest folks you'll ever meet. Their pride in Goldfield and its history is contagious, and it's what keeps us coming back.